Okay, so are we live?
Yes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another talk of AUI Alumni Tech Talk series. Today, we invited Dr. Kenza Gaizi. So make sure to stay till the end with us because Dr. Kenza will be giving some job-seeking tips and pieces of advice for the next generation of engineers. And your questions are the most welcome at the end of the talk. So Dr. Kenza, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And without
Thank
any
you.
further delay, I leave the floor to you and feel free to present yourself and go on with your talk.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Kenza, and I am an AUI alumni. I have studied computer science, business administration. That was my minor in math as well. And I studied a master in information system security. And then I have registered for a PhD with the University Sidi Mohammed bin Abdullah in Fez, where I graduated, where I got my degree in physics with the specialty of telecommunication on optical network security. And I've been working at Google from 2013 in the trust and safety area. We basically look after our users, try to ensure that the space is abuse-free and fights across multiple products, ads, YouTube, AdSense, shopping. So I've been an analyst, senior strategist, program manager, and I'm currently working in the quality space, managing quality for a few other products. I'm very excited to join you today to this talk, and I would like to share a new approach to the job hunting aspect. So this is what I will be talking about. So next generation engineers, trends, and job seeking tips is my talk. Before starting, when we talk about next generation, or when you hear it, it's a very common buzzword. We've been hearing that for quite a few years, to the point of even potentially saying it's been abused at times. But let's really just go back to the basics and understand what are we talking about. So next generation is also often shortened as next gen, and can also be referenced as disruptive technology. And this is really referring just to significant advances in specific capabilities in various fields. With such innovative or disruptive technologies comes many challenges. You would find areas that have this really are characterized with some resistance to the change. You also would flag those areas by the amount of investment going there at different levels, at companies, countries, organizations, and so on, and also by the research volume or the trends that are there. So just to list a few examples of next generation technologies, you've probably heard of Google Sycamore quantum processors. And another example in the 3D field, we're now in a stage where if people in the medical domain are working on printing some models that can be used in the medical space. So you see an example of a 3D printed vascular model. And we also are talking about cobots, or colleague robots, if you wish, in the retail space. So they would work alongside humans to improve efficiency and have basically other savings in terms of costs and user experience and so on. And for next generation, I wanted to share with you a few areas of focus to list, and to give you also an idea about what to look for in terms of job hunting with regards to skills to develop, jobs to look for, trainings to do, and so on. So a few areas that I listed here, or that you can search and look for further. 3D printing, as we talked about, and its implications in various domains. And this is great because really whatever your domain is, you can try to think creatively about how can you apply that there. One example I really like to talk about is with the COVID situation, and with many of the issues in the world. Sometimes there are difficulties to ship some components, some elements. So you can actually think about 3D printing to save time, to get what you need. This is in that area, and you can think of other applications. 5G, 6G as well is another topic. Automation and robotics. I will be talking more about this in coming slides. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is another big area of interest. We also have topics about cybersecurity advances, headless technology, virtual and augmented reality, cloud and edge computing. I'll be talking more on the cloud as well as a focus area. And work from home revolution. This has brought so many innovations to so many different fields, and it's a huge buzzword now. And it's actually a great opportunity that allowed so many people to get together and collaborate in different aspects and advance in many areas. Autonomous vehicles, we're not really there yet, but there is research going on, and it's really interesting how this can shape our future, and if it gets to the right maturity level where it can be deployed. IoT and as a service computing are a few other areas. So I'll be talking about two, as I mentioned. The space is so huge to cover in this short time, so I picked a few that I thought would be useful. Next generation in cloud, and this is based on 451 research reports from 2021. And just to stop a little bit about the source. So when I was preparing for the talk, I've been going through a few research and consulting firms that specialize in looking for these trends. And it's interesting to actually check the percentage of analysts to employees in such companies, so that you know actually. So that you can actually judge a bit more on the sources you're using, right? So you can find a huge company, but the actual percentage of analysts there is like 6%, 5%, but you can find a much smaller one, but with a lot more concentration and focus and expertise. So this one had about 39% analysts to employees, right? So I like to reference it. So basically with cloud, the next generation there is a new trend of thinking of multi-cloud as the new hybrid, and cloud control planes to be the enabler. I'll be sharing some examples in the few coming slides, but the main benefits of this technology is high availability, flexibility, and cost effectiveness. And it will include public, private, end-to-end connectivity, and data centers. And it's also showing as a topic of interest, of increasing interest on Google search trend since 2015 and even until now, as you can see. And this is one tip that I really want to share as I'm talking about this. So one way for you to flag areas of interest of like what people are interested in, use the website Google Trends, and you can compare for a specific country, for across the world. You can specify the period you want. It's really useful, and you can search for the search term or the topic, and it can help just guide you. It doesn't really it should be looked at with a grain of salt, of course, in the context of many other things, but it can help. So just to come back to the cloud, we should distinguish between two terms. So we've been hearing cloud a lot as well, and there is the term multiple clouds, which just means separate clouds here and there, and providing different applications. But what we're talking about here is multi-cloud, which basically refers to a new way of really looking at these or using these different clouds in a coordinated way as one single, if you wish, multi-cloud, right? And with this new area, it's possible to have a policy and control moving up from the underlying infrastructure to the cloud, and it will help users manage things in a much better and uniform way. Also, just going back to the benefits, the great thing about this is we're really looking at high availability with this. Also flexibility, because you you're basically not gonna be locked by relying on one vendor. This will encourage vendors to compete. It will bring the cost down. If one cloud is down, you can still rely on other clouds. So it's quite useful in that aspect. So what we will take from this is one area of focus where you can grow skills, you can seek jobs, and it will be used. Another area is with regards to a challenge. So you've probably heard of the chip shortage that was a big issue recently, and like the computing space and others rely on chips quite a lot. So it will cause a challenge for cloud platform operators and users, and with this is especially continuing with some. We still see some impacts from COVID and work from home, and the silicon shortage itself has also been impacted by the current conditions across both the public health, talking about COVID, geopolitics issues in the world right now, and climate change. And but it's also an area for innovation, because it can lead to people thinking about investing in the chip industry instead of relying on shipping this from areas where they're not as accessible as before. It can also lead to thinking of new ways of reusing some of the existing chips, and this is already happening in some areas. So this is an interesting area to look at and check the impacts. And so the global shortage crisis, if you wish, happened in between 2020 and 2021. It seems to go down, but you never know. The climate isn't really stable, so it's good to keep an eye on these things. Third, private clouds will look increasingly cloud-like or public cloud-like. What I mean by that is there are some features that are available in public clouds that are very attractive for users, and such features have been also investigated or started to get investigated by private cloud owners. So actually, from the survey done in this report, more than half of the enterprises there consider private cloud as the best execution venue for workloads with security and compliance requirements. And also, they're actually adding more public cloud features, as I mentioned, such as on-demand bursting and flexible pricing models. Let's see. Yeah, the next one is on app modernization, and this is going to accelerate transformation as cloud nativity becomes the default. So more and more apps are going to be on the cloud, which just comes with all the need to have the skills and the investment, the research, and the related all the related aspects with that. And next, yeah, you can see here, cloud native computing continues to get interest until now. Next, the great resignation to present skills, challenges, opportunities for cloud and MSPs. So in 2021, the world has seen a great resignation ripple effect that unfortunately some analysts are expecting for it to continue until 2022. With that, you would imagine there will be even more shortage in the skill set, right? So more opportunities as well. But like this will lead to the likelihood of leaning on service providers and MSPs to manage this talent gap, but also is an opportunity to think of maybe creating startups that address this, training centers, and so on. I mean, whenever there is a crisis, there's also an opportunity. You can see here from the report, specific to cloud, what areas have the top cloud skills shortage. Yeah, basically between cloud platform expertise, cloud native engineering, those have been also flagged earlier as some top interest areas: security expertise, DevOps, and some of the respondents, they didn't have any shortage. This is another graph that I really like, and this one is coming from this is from the Enterprise Strategy Group Spending Intention report in 2021, and it basically highlights where we have shortage in IT and what areas in particular suffer from this. You can see cybersecurity at the top, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud architecture is third, and you see the rest of the stack is there are others, but this also aligns with the areas we highlighted earlier. So another trend here is that category lines will continue to blur as service providers' portfolios converge. And what we mean by that is really, you now would also notice that more MSPs, telcos, data center companies, hardware and software vendors, they're trying to expand their portfolios to include offerings linked to so many of these new trends: transformation, cloud adoption, optimization, hybrid and multi-cloud management, information securities, and so on. And what the key takeaway from here is, when you're looking for a job in a specific area, you can actually broaden your search to these as well, because their portfolio is going to grow, or is starting to grow already. And next, your cloud your way. So basically, the industry and sovereign clouds will rise to meet privacy regulations, and hyperscalers are expected to invest in hyperscalers. I mean by that, Amazon, Google, and other providers will continue, are expected, based on the analysis, to invest in additional sectors expertise and promote use cases to further development and adoption of industry clouds, as enterprises are looking for clouds to meet their business requirements, and also to adhere to compliance and privacy regulations. So there is both opportunity there from a regulation standpoint, from a cloud standpoint, and others. So that was on the one of the areas we saw on cloud. The next one I wanted to talk about briefly is on robotics. And I'll just pause here for a moment. I have a number here on the screen, and just take some time to guess, what is that number for? What does it stand for? Have a mental answer, or if Sam, if you want to guess.
Maybe number of robots being created up to now.
It can be connected. So this is the robotics industry worth expected by 2000.
It's in dollars. Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was thrilled by the number. Okay.
So this is a huge area where that is worth a lot of money, basically, and there is a connection between that and so many things, and basically grants that will be offered, probably offerings, jobs, opportunities, obviously the market need for this and for various types of robots. So that's an interesting number that I like to share. And here are some key technology trends that impact robotics. And why I picked this, because it's an area where you will see a lot of the previous focus areas shown here. So it's quite a wide space where it could be impacted by AI, by edge computing, cybersecurity, industrial internet, cloud robotics, and so on. So I'm just going to list a couple of those here. For example, talking about AI and the key technology trend impacting robotics, what we are going to be needing, or what's expected by the thematic research reports by Global Thematic Research 2021. So they this is basically a summary from that. The report is much bigger, and it's they're expecting computer vision, conversational platforms, and context-aware computing as some of the areas where engineering advances will be needed. And next generation robotics highlights there are some highlights that you probably heard of them as well. So there is the neuromorphic processors research. So this is basically working on chips that will emulate human brain, and also while using much less, while being really power efficient, and yeah, that's really the main benefit, as opposed to purely software based solutions. So some examples of leaders there that you can check later to see what they're doing, where they're going: IBM, True North chip, and Intel's low heat processor. The latest has some updates on their chip in 2021, I believe. It was a very recent one. And these are actually good to address the Neumann bottleneck, which basically it will help the chip not have to wait or be idle, and just use it to the max, pretty much. So what happens really is that the robots in this case, or that are powered by this technology, will be trained using some basic libraries of relevant data, and they will be taught to think by processing sensory inputs. And at the end, they're expected to use such acquired skills to perform different tasks using associations and probabilities. Another key technology trend impacting robotics is edge computing. And this is important because it will help achieve lower latency and improved security. As you know, if things, basically, the main benefit is that you're minimizing the likelihood of attacks or the risk of attacks by not moving data so much to the cloud. So by having processing on edge, you're actually reducing that that issue, and also improving latency. You're not using as much bandwidth as well that way. And when this is combined with self-contained robotic features, such as the Robotics Sense Plan Act, you can actually make attacks more difficult or hard to achieve. Another area that really is quite interesting actually is something called soft and self-healing robots. So this is about next generation robots that will be soft and self-healing, and made basically of soft materials or polymers instead of purely metal. And they would really have some organic characteristics, replicating muscle work, where the robot can self-repair. And the interesting aspect here is that first, there is a lot of research opportunities in this area, but think about areas that are hard to reach for humans or are difficult. If a robot breaks, you need to send advanced machinery, humans, etc., and there is a human safety aspect there. But if the robot is developed to self-repair, then you're actually touching on some interesting areas, also saving some costs, adaptability, and flexibility. So those are interesting.
Dr. Kenza, before we move on to the next slide, allow me to interrupt you for a minute. It's just regarding the next generation robots. Are we talking about like self-healing in terms of logic, like there's something wrong with the software and the way it works, and then it is trying to self-repair without any external intervention? Or are we talking about like the actual physical repair? Because I'm a little bit confused here.
So for this one in particular, it's about the physical aspects of the robot. But what you're just describing can actually be an aspect as well. I think it will be amazing if the robot can debug itself, if you wish.
Okay.
So yeah, there is definitely room for so many things to do here. So the next section is on job seeking, and I have summarized some practical tips, of course, in light of what we saw and the approach of looking at where the industry is heading, academia, so on. And I also like to have some numbers, some mystery numbers here: 93%, 63%, 80%. Any guesses?
Not really.
I'll have the first one, and maybe you can guess some of the others. So 93% was the percentage of employers, according according to the Monster website for job search, they found that 93% of employers are doing some form of hiring in 2022, which is up from 82% in 2021. So there is more hiring happening nowadays. That's encouraging. And this is just one website. So the other number is 63% of organizations would be. This is quite useful actually, because the way organizations are now looking at the job market has also shifted. So here they would be willing to hire someone with transferable soft skills and then train them to full proficiency. So it's quite useful to use this as as a tip to diversify one's own skill set and not really focus on one area and just learn along the way.
It's like learning. Creating an ecosystem of engineers, like having an engineer with one area and train him in another area just to have this.
Yeah, because I mean, if they with the shortage that we saw, if they stay fixated on we really need this person who has X%, who has like X years of expertise in this specific area, I mean, they may just hire other people and train them, and as long as the knowledge is transferable and the skills. 80% of organizations said they are having difficulty filling openings due to an ongoing shortage of skill. That's what we saw also from the other reports. So you see here that the shortage of skills is a real problem, and it's an opportunity to use. And here I have some tips for an enjoyable surfing experience, job hunt. So this is from my personal experience talking to people, friends, coaches, and so on. The first one I put on the list is to maintain a positive mindset. We hear a lot that job seeking is a full-time job. You need to look at it from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. I don't think that has to be that way, because it's at the end of the day, you also have to allow yourself to grow as a person, to learn new skills and to enjoy the process. So my first advice is job seeking doesn't have to be a full-time job. Schedule your job seeking slots and take breaks. Don't work alone as well. Connecting with other people, brainstorming, connecting can lead to better opportunities in general. Second, do your research. So I've just shown you some example of the research you might do for when you're starting to job hunt. Look for your areas and other areas that are either of interest to you, of interest to the users, or to the industry. Think creatively about skill shortage and how to leverage it. Exploit new trends and opportunities. I really like to read reports on trends. I really like those and I like comparing different ones and seeing what people are thinking, what people are saying. So it's really just a nice habit to build and keep up your sleeves and use it as you see fit. And of course, following career coaches and recruitment resources on the various platforms that we have. Third, prepare your portfolio. It's not just the CV. The CV is important, of course, but for the CV itself, I would recommend using peer review services if needed, or sharing with another friend or colleague. Have another pair of eyes, take a look. Sometimes we might not spot certain things that others can just because you shared it with a new set of eyes. Next, set up and maintain your online professional presence. Look yourself up, see what comes up, see if you're happy about that. You can actually adjust a lot of that. If you don't like content, change it. So that is quite important to take care of as well. Summarize your skills project in bite-sized formats. What I like to do is just think about what I do and have post-it notes and just summarize what I do, put it on a board, and also learn about yourself through that. So who are you as a person from what you do, from what you like? And that can give you a better idea of the direction to take when searching for a job or for a new opportunity for work or for your self-development. And as much as possible, use non-jargon language and highlight impact. This is the tricky one. I'll just pause for a moment because you do want to keep some keywords for the for your for your CV or for your um, resume to be picked up by engines, right? But have those in an area that is for keywords. And when you're talking about what you did and the impact, have that in a simple language that you can explain much easily to different people and in different levels. Be a forever student. Don't stop learning. Never stop learning. That's an advice, and I think that I like to live by as well. Learn something new in your field periodically, and set some targets that are attainable, as well as diversifying your skills. Don't shy from learning about new fields. Start from scratch. It's okay and it's fun. Um, Attend industry and academic events. I like to highlight both because really you get different perspectives from attending both. You see where the money is, you see where the research is, and you think about combining both areas and see how they meet and where can you play a role in one or the other or in both, and use that to network, get new connections. And of course, before that, have your elevator pitch ready with the non-jargon impact highlighting. There, you don't need to worry about keywords. So just being authentic and sharing the impact and what you did. And of course, seek referrals from attendees. It's completely okay, and it's actually encouraged to do so. When you go through interviews or after interviews, no matter what the result is, it's quite nice to ask for feedback from the recruiters, because at the end of the day, you also invested your time there, and it's just fair to ask how did it go, why did it go well or not, and identify areas of improvement, but also keep a critical mindset uh, about the feedback. Some feedback might not always be accurate, so just keep an eye on that as well. And from time to time, it's nice to sit and question the fit for some roles. If like you've been applying for a set of roles for quite some time and nothing comes up from there, then maybe think what is wrong. Is the job really, is the job category not my fit? Is am I doing something wrong here? And adjust and try again. And finally, if your dream job doesn't exist, create it. So it's actually quite interesting how this whole new work from home, and it's interesting how crisis sometimes creates opportunities. So think about creative ways to start your own business, get some knowledge by attending startup weekends. Most of the time, they're available in different cities. There are similar events as well. You can also identify funding opportunities for your projects, pitch your ideas. Yeah, and as I mentioned, if you can find a job, you can also create one. Yeah, that's the end
Thank
of
you
my.
so much. Thank you so much. That was really eye-opening for me, at least, and I'm sure that it will be for the audience here. So let's see if we have any questions from our audience. Please make sure to write your comments down below so that Dr. Kenza can answer it. So here we have one question from Jarat Mohammed. Is there any material that can be healed by itself? Okay. I think
That's
he's referring to the robots
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
It's actually not my area of specialty, right? So I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly. I would guess materials that are organic, that have some organic components might be. I like this is what I'm thinking. I think with the introduction of some micro or nanoorganisms there that can, think about the body, right? Our body heals itself by the means of small creatures that actually, they
that is
Well,
simulating the behavior of our human
yeah,
bodies. So it's
that's
just
really
like
what I
we
would.
created AI to simulate the human intelligence, we created artificial intelligence by using the same mechanism. So we guess that there is material, synthetic material that has been created. And Mr. Mohammed, you can just like Dr. Kenza highlighted some important topics. You feel free to do your research, and then you can come up later on for further discussion. Any
One
other
area
questions? Yeah.
I would just advise to look for material engineering. So that can guide you. So there is a lot in that area.
Yes. Yes.
More on that. Yeah, and maybe you can share with us as well. I'm curious now. Is there another question on the screen or
Not yet. Any
okay?
other questions? Well, I have one, like waiting for the next question from our audience, because I really liked what you said there. You see, when attending academia and industrial events, you see where the money is and where the research is. So yeah, that's going to be a great opportunity to create startups, and you see where the gap is.
Mhm.
But then my question was, because personally I still feel that there is this gap between our educational system, especially for Moroccan universities, where we are still focusing on one specific major. And then here, as you have shown, for example, for robotics, we have edge computing, we have AI, we have many, many things. So how to, like, I know you mentioned this in your slides, but would you please just give us more about how to make it easy for engineers to wear different hats, I would say?
Yeah. So one thing I'm really really honestly proud of is being an AUIer. It's
Yes.
actually allowed me to do this. So I graduated with computer science, with a computer science degree in information system security, but I had my PhD in physics. I
Mm.
studied so much on my own. I had to read a lot. I had to attend those events. I had just to build myself. But what really was useful is having that background, like the essentials that we take in college. Really is what
Mhm.
you need to learn on yourself with to learn alone. So I would say pick an area of interest, even if it's scary, even if you read it once, twice, you don't get it, it happens. And just learn. I was watching. I like watching lectures from different universities online. Also, many trainings and courses are available. Many of them are actually free or are actually, there is a very interesting thing that I like to share as well. During COVID, so many training centers and course websites have been trying to encourage people to sign up, and they've been
Mhm.
giving very amazing discounts. And those, as you know, those platforms have benefited a lot from people work staying at home. So seek those. You will most likely find many degrees, courses at a much better price than where they were before COVID. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, dear audience? You could
And,
just write it
and
as a comment. Yes, go ahead.
maybe I will just add one thing. And another opportunity that we have in the educational system, when you're doing your master's projects or your graduation, bachelor or master's
Mhm.
project, you actually have some freedom to pick an area where you will learn something new and also apply what you have. So you can actually, in fact, pick one of these areas, and first you will learn a lot and also apply what you have and have something unique and useful for you as well at the end.
Okay. So I don't think we have another question here, but in the meanwhile, I have to.
Yeah.
So the first one was, because I have gone through the same thing as you almost. My major was telecommunication and stuff, and then during my PhD, I got to discover processes regarding software software engineering and software development, right? But I can tell you that it's for sure taking time. It takes
Yeah,
time to learn things and do things. Now, my question is like, in companies, is it really given like the time to learn other things so that you get to broaden your expertise? Because I'm not sure, like you have to do tasks, you have to deliver things, but you are still in the learning process. I'm not sure if there is, I'm not sure,
yeah,
um, an
yeah.
equilibre. The word in English just went.
I think I get. I think I get your question, and it's a very relevant one because at the end of the day, you're. I mean, when I look at this like at the end of the day, we give a service to a company that has a
Yeah.
need, right? So that is
Mhm.
it. But for this to be beneficial to us, well, the financial aspect is one of it, but also the growth, right? Because at the end of the day, you also want to get something out of it. So this is one of the key criteria I would say for myself or for anyone searching for a new
Mhm.
job
Mhm.
before going for that job. You don't want to go somewhere where you will stagnate
Yeah. Mm.
or you will or where you will only have your free time to grow, because that can also be exhausting. You don't want to always just use your weekends to grow. It's nice to use part of that. But so I would
Yeah.
say this is a great question to ask when during the interviews, when they ask you, do you have any questions, ask them, is there any opportunities for me to grow? Do you
Oh,
have
nice.
X% projects opportunities where I can learn a new skill and apply it? and
Mm.
and there is another, if you are already in a job that doesn't allow for this, then maybe propose it. Maybe the
Mhm.
leadership would like the idea, and it'll probably make people happy. It'll probably encourage more people to join that company. So and if you're creating a startup, have this as one of the attractive areas for all the geeks to join you. I think they'll be happy
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So my next question was, do you mind tell us, because I'm sure many of our audience might be curious regarding this. How did you land your job in Google?
How did I join, or how did I?
Yeah, yeah. How did you land the job position?
Yeah. So it was a combination of things. So uh, I have an interesting story. Actually, in high school, I was studying experimental sciences, biology sciences
Mhm.
in particular, and I
Okay.
wanted to be a doctor, like a physician. Uh, and but then at the end of the day, I joined I joined AUI, and I discovered that I actually like engineering a lot
Mhm.
more. So that was quite eye-opening. However, what I would say, what helps me, just giving some context, just having a goal, a target, whatever it is, can keep you focused and get somewhere first, and then it's fine if you don't discover yourself right away, and we keep
Mhm.
discovering ourselves as we grow and as we
Yes,
uh,
that's important.
experiences. So basically, I have when I was at AUI, there was a talk by an AUI alumni at the time,
Mhm.
and she was working at Microsoft. And I remember I was in my second or third year there, bachelor year, and I remember I was like, wow, so there are people at AUI who work at Microsoft. It was very fascinating for me at the
Yeah.
time, and I was like, I want to work at Google. That's really, it was an idea. It was like that.
Mhm.
So what happened is that this made me think, nothing there for me. Google was a huge thing. I'm a huge fan of this company. I like its mission. I like the causes it works. I like what it does. And I was just able to think that I shouldn't really limit myself. Not to say
Mhm.
that there aren't great opportunities, even in smaller companies or startups, but that was what I was thinking about. So I started having interest. I started following their blogs. I started looking for student opportunities, and I found
Mhm.
the Global Student Ambassador program at the time, and I applied for it. I had to write a research.
Please, what was it again?
It was the Google Student Ambassador
Okay.
in EMEA. It was a
Mhm.
program that where you have to apply, and like
Mhm.
as we say in Morocco, just saying Bismillah, just saying let's start. They
Yeah.
asked for a research paper. I was like, great. So this this seems legit. So I had to write a research paper about some topic that I can't remember at the moment, and they asked me to videotape myself describing why I should join. And this is basically to play a role between your university and Google, bring
Mm,
like teach people about new technologies, opportunities, but also bring insights to Google on what academia needs and how can we be useful to that area. So I was
okay.
accepted among 700 other people from all over EMEA, and we went for a training in Egypt at the time. There were many Googlers
Nice.
who attended, and there were many talks about Google technologies, tips for different kinds of things, you know. And I used that opportunity to just learn more and be more curious about technology in general and more trend and just an industry in connection with
Mm,
academia. That's where it started. The next year I
mhm.
applied again because I loved it so much. Luckily, I was also accepted once again, and I've been going to small towns and sharing the knowledge with people as well, even if they're not in college. It didn't matter. I mean, technology can be taught to people if they're interested.
Mm.
And yeah, and then I used the networking opportunities to pitch myself, what I do, what I like, and I got a referral. So that's how I landed my job.
Nice, nice. Thank you for sharing this exciting journey with us. And dear audience, do you have any other questions? Feel free to write your questions in the comments area, and Dr. Kenza will be able to answer it. Okay, so seems like we don't have any more questions. It was a really exciting talk, very informative, and I'm sure that other people can still view our recording in YouTube, and feel free to explore other talks because they are covering like top trends topics. Thank you, Dr. Gaizi, for accepting our invitation again in spite of your busy schedule. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
And yeah, thank you all. See you next time.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.